Hello and welcome to Prague in Czechoslovakia for the final qualifying round of the World Team Cup competition this year. We should explain that we have four nations: Sweden, West Germany, Czechoslovakia and Australia. We have had 2 rounds in Germany and in Sweden. At the moment it is the Swedes in front, with the Germans breathing down their neck as we come into this final qualifying round. Heat number 1 and under orders, and it's the Czech Brehel from the inside who gets the fastest start. Second place there in the red is Jimmy Nilsson from Sweden. In third place, Troy Butler just carving up and moving down the inside of Nilsson. Brehel, the Czech, leads it. Butler is second. Nilsson gets a nudge. That's going to let Colmeyer. He's in the yellow and black helmet. And we're through the first lap. 400 metres around this Prague circuit. It's greasy. The weather is overcast. It looks as though it's going to be an easy track to ride if you're in front. And the local boy here, Brehel, is carving up the pace in Heat 1. 4 laps to a race, of course. They're going around about 60 mile an hour as they hit these corners. And this is an encouraging start for the Czechoslovakians. One of their new boys, Boho Brehel, don't know what I wanted to say, but an impressive young rider. Second place, Troy Butler from Oxford in the British League. And third place, Colmeyer, who you may recall on Eurosport we saw in the World Long Track Racing final just a week or so back. More suited to that particular discipline. There is the battle for the odd point. They are in third place, and Jimmy Nilsson from Sweden, and he's at the back, and the Swedes won't be happy with that. So the crowd here in Prague have an interesting and encouraging start to their afternoon's racing. The Czechs, of course, have never really dominated or made their mark at the top level of World Speedway, although they have been on the fringes for 20 years. But Brehel gets them off to a flying start. Stefan Tesser for Czechoslovakia. The Czechs have started with a race win. We're coming into heat number 2 here in Prague. And again, one of the younger brigade of Czechoslovakian racers, Stefan Tesser. He'll be in the white helmet colour. Also in the picture there, we've got a shot of Stephen Davis from Newcastle, New South Wales, Australia. Rides for Kings Lynn in the British League. Formerly a dirt and grass track rider. Been around a bit, fairly experienced, and it's interesting that the Australians haven't got their national body colours. They're wearing the factory body colours of the Java Machinery Company, which is of course in Czechoslovakia, near Prague in fact. So we'll come into heat number 2, and looking across the line on the inside it is going to be Davis in blue. Next to him in red for Sweden it's Erik Stenlund, former ice racing champion. Grid number 3 as we move and pan across with our Czechoslovakian chums in yellow and black Gerd Riss from West Germany, and on the outside it is Tesar. Now it looked like the inside grids were the most advantageous in heat number 1. The track is a bit greasy and it looks a bit slick. It's going to be close and tight and a track for the real strategists and track crafty merchants. Coming into line for heat 2, Stenlund in grid 2 for Sweden. The Swedes need to pick up some points here. Davis on the inside, then Riss, and on the outside Tesser. Tesser is impatient to go. Away this time, it's a flying start from the Swede. Stenlund leads it. Tesser is in second place. Third place it is Davis, and at the back it is Gerd Riss from West Germany, and Riss making his move down the outside. And yes, the referee has stopped that when it looked as though the rider on the outside, Tesser, just was nudging the tapes when he let them go. He wasn't happy with the start, although in fairness, Speedway aficionados have seen far more ragged starts than that being allowed to continue. They're going to have all 4 back in. It's, well, an interesting decision there. Tesser certainly was impatient, but it wasn't a bad start at all. And let's look at it again. You can see he's just touched the tapes there. Still gets a pretty good start, and it's, if anybody, Gerd Riss who misses out, the rider in yellow and black, the German. Well, we've seen plenty of old starts getting away with it. All 4 back in, no change. Now it was Stenlund who was leading at the first attempt, and he'll be mighty upset if he misses the jump this time. There is Tesser, perhaps he was the offender first time. Across the line, once again, Davis on the inside, Australia. Next to him, Red Stenlund, Sweden. Grid 3 has Riss from West Germany. On the outside, Tesser, Czechoslovakia. 4 laps. Remember, 3 points for a win, 2 for a second, 1 for a third. They absolutely open the taps, and they're at full throttle in 3 seconds, and this time It's a very tight start as they hit the corner. Stedling gets away. Second place is Riss. Riss making his move. Around the outside too comes Tessar. And at the back it is Stephen Davis from Australia. So the little West German in front of this trouble. And Tessar's picked up the wheel and has to bail off. Riss just locked up. Tessar was right on his back wheel. The race is continuing. And good Riss, I'm sure there he is. He's unaware of the drama. Tessar almost clipped him, but it pointed him straight at the fence. Let's see if he's been cleared. He's not. He's still there, out of harm's way. The race continues. The Czechs in the crowd are not happy about that. Riss still leads it. Second place, it is Erik Stenlund from Sweden. Third place, Stephen Davis from Australia in blue. And somebody seems to be missing out there. The bikes seem to be slowing as we look across the line. They're coming into the last lap. You can see there Davis, and it's Riss that's in trouble. Riss is in trouble. We thought we heard of this. In fact, it's a puncture, and it looks as though Erik Stenlund's slowing as well as Davis makes his move. So we have drama plenty here in Heat 2. Stenlund will hold on. Davis is second from Australia. So we lost one on the first lap into the fence. Now what happened to Gerd Riss? The bike visibly was slowing. There he is, and he has got a long scoot home for the odd point. And it is important he finishes. Now he has got 3 minutes. Once the tapes go, he can push it or scoot it or get off and carry it. As long as he goes over the line within 3 minutes of the start, he is awarded the point. And it's heavy work for the West German. He won't be happy. He was leading Heat 2. Let's look at the incident again. He's in front here. This is lap 1. Tessar's going at 1,000,000 miles an hour. There's nowhere to go but down. He gets off, did well there. The bike goes on horizontally. No real harm done apart from a damaged ride. Heat number 3 coming into line on the inside in red, Michael Blixt from Sweden, formerly with the Pool Pirates in the British Speedway League. Comes from Norrköping in Sweden. His name, we are led to believe, means lightning in Swedish. He does like lightning too. There's the lineup. Roman Matešek will be in white for the Czechs. There is Blixt, you can see, with some, well, is it still fashionable long hair? He's on the inside in the red helmet colour for Sweden. Then coming into grid 2 in white, it will be Roman Matešek. Now he is a real hurly-burly merchant for the Czechs. Grid 3 has Mickey Poole from Australia, rides for Peterborough in the National League in England. And then on the outside in yellow and black, Tommy Dunker from Deidenbergen in West Germany, and one of the up-and-coming young Rhineland racers. Heat number 3. Once again, keep an eye on those inside grids. They do seem to be just the most advantageous as they hit the first corner. And it is Blixt who gets away from the inside. Matešek's going after him in third place. Poole gets taken very wide in that race. Dunker down the inside of him for Germany. So it is Blixt who leads it. Matešek's in second place for Czechoslovakia. Third place, it is Dunker at the back, the Australian Poole. And now Matešek, this real rough, tough Czechoslovakian, he will go hard after Blixt. He will certainly make his presence felt, and Blixt will know he is there. Roman Matešek, the hero of the Czechoslovakian crowd, he is a real flyer, and he puts himself about. Still Blixt in front, and Blixt is riding a good line. It looks as though it's going to be a difficult track to find an overtaking line. Once you're in front and you make your own racing line, well, obviously you can go much quicker than the guy behind you. And Matešek here swinging out where the dirt is now, twitching back to try and find a line down the inside, but Blixt is aware of him, and Blixt is in trouble. The bike then just kicked and missed, and Matešek moves through second place. Now it is Dunker for Germany in third place. It is Mick Poole. That's bad luck for the Swedes, and particularly Michael Blixt. He looked like he had Matešek in his pocket. The Czechs rise to him. So again, some drama as Michael Blixt, just as he hit the last lap, the bike just gave a bit of a splutter, and there he is, a very lonely and disappointed Swedish gentleman. Heat number 4, when the West German Klaus Lausch there waiting to enter the arena as the riders, and now there are of course 4 riders to each side plus 1 reserve, and we have the last 4 of the main team coming out here in heat number 4. There is the lineup. Craig Boyce from Australia, comes from Sydney, rides for Poole, one of the new exciting generation of Australian youngsters, only been here in Europe for a couple of years. Per Jonsson is far and away the most experienced campaigner in the quartet from Sweden. There he is, a tall lad, has finished 5th in a world individual final, missed out on the British season in 1989. His girlfriend was having a baby. He's ridden in Sweden and all over the continent. There is Craig Boyce in the blue helmet for Australia. And he has a body colour from another Czechoslovakian industrial concern. That's the Barum tyre. There is Johnson. Johnson is a very smooth stylist, very efficient, neat, compact, tidy, and quite fearless. He will be in grid 2 here. Boyce has pole on the inside position. Looking across the line, Boyce, then Johnson. We'll just get a shot of him there. There he is settling down, moving across the line in yellow and black Klaus Lausch, and on the outside Tony Kasper, another vastly experienced international campaigner for the Czechs as the tapes go, and Kasper has got a flyer from grid 4. Storms across the field. Look, he's got a 5-length lead already. Second place is Lausch, third place is Johnson, who got squeezed up at the first turn. Tony Kasper from Czechoslovakia leads it. Second place, it is Lausch. Third place, trying to bore a hole down the inside, it's Per Johnson. At the back, it's Craig Boyce from Australia. The battle for second place, and it's awfully close in there. And Johnson makes his move and sticks his wheel in, and there was no room at all, and Lausch held off the thrust. And that was a tremendous piece of action. And once again, Johnson might just have the drop on him this time as they hit lap 3, and Johnson forces his way down the inside of Lausch. Still Kasper in front. There is Lausch, and he couldn't hold on to that Swede because Johnson said, I'm coming through, and nothing was going to stop him. Kasper a mile in front. The Czechs are enjoying this moment. Last lap, 400 metres here in Prague. Not a capacity crowd, but still a good turnout on a pretty grotty old afternoon. And Boyce making some inroads on Lausch for the odd points, but up front, untroubled. Kasper wins it. Second place, working hard, it was the Swede Per Johnson. In third place, it was Klaus Lausch. There is Kasper, well known right across Europe. He's ridden in the British League for Eastbourne. He is the son of a famous Czechoslovakian father, same name, Tony Kasper, rode in the early 70s in world finals, so something of a family tradition in Speedway here in Czechoslovakia for the Kaspers. Now the Czechoslovakian authorities have a break between heats 4 and 5 when they will tend to the track. They will regrade. It won't need watering. It's pretty damp out there, and you can see the track regrading. Now this has got to be done quite carefully because it is a bit wet and sticky, and they've got to grade it evenly. And if you get a tractor driver, a grader driver who's a bit careless, he can dump a lot of wet, sticky shell and factory waste in one place, and that can develop into a dangerous patch. And we've got to watch for that, because in these kind of conditions, when the track is so greasy and sticky, unless they get it absolutely right, it can cause trouble. And that's the case in point we mentioned about track conditions. Now the grader, as you can see, has dropped an awful lot of dirt in one place, and we have some really frenzied activity to try and clear it. And we'll watch for that patch. It looked as though it was just coming out of the second turn, and the riders will be well advised, because they get that extra bit of dirt the machine will pick up, and that can throw them all over the place, and that is dangerous, and that's not good track preparation. The Czechoslovakian, indeed all over Eastern Europe, they really are keen on their speedway, and they are normally meticulous in their track preparation, but that was bad news, and that could be dangerous, and we'll watch for that. Coming into heat 5, looking at the lineup for 5 before the caption comes up. Jimmy Nilsson will ride for Sweden. He was surprisingly last first time out. Stephen Davis for Australia, he'll be in blue in grid 3. Roman Matešek, the Czechoslovakian, and we mentioned about him, he will be in the thick of the action. And the reserve for Germany is Alwoth Backhuber coming in here. There is the lineup, and that's the grid position from the inside. Matešek on the inside, then Backhuber. Grid 3 has Davis. On the outside, it is Jimmy Nilsson. Heat number 5 under orders and ready to go, and away they go. And Matešek's got a super start from the inside. He's away. The Czech crowd rise to him. Second place there is Stephen Davis. Third is Backhuber. And at the back it is Jimmy Nilsson, and Jimmy Nilsson from Sweden and Swindon in British League Speedway is not having a good time at all. Matešek hopping and bopping all over the place, but in front and in command here in heat 5. Another fine piece of action there. as we look at the line, and Nilsson trying to move up as they all tighten up for the odd points. In this World Cup racing where you have one individual rider from each nation, you really can ill afford to finish last. You finish last, it's an awful lot of ground to make up. There's Barkhuber, and he has been a surprise, and he's hit that dirt. We saw it there, he hit the dirt, it picked him up, it drove straight into the fence, and we mentioned there that could be dangerous, and the West German reserve just lost concentration for a moment. It threw, he did well to maintain contact. And there is Matuszek, and the riders will be thinking, watch out for that patch, lads, because it's a bit sticky there. Still Matuszek moving out to mid-track. Second place still is Davis. In third place, a long way back, Jimmy Nilsson's been fourth in a world individual final. There is Matuszek, and the crowd rise to him. Well, there's the incident again, and you can see Barkhuber picks up the drive. It looked like he'd rectified it, and the back wheel just clips the fence, almost pitches him over the handlebars. The lads did awfully well to maintain contact, but I think he might just be a little sore in the morning. It's a long walk back to the pits, and we're going to take a break with him. We'll be back in just a couple. From Prague in Czechoslovakia, the final qualifier for the World Team Cup final. It's all very tight and close between Sweden and Czechoslovakia at the moment, and we have four nations. Remember, we're coming into heat number 6. As we look across the line, we're going to have from Czechoslovakia, race winner first time out, Tony Kasper. There he is in white. Just a reminder that throughout the programme, that's the lineup across the grid from the inside. And a reminder that throughout the programme, the Swedes are in red helmets, the Australians in blue, the Czechoslovakians, the host nation, in white, and the West Germans in yellow and black helmets. 4 laps to a race, we remind you, 3 points for a win, 2 for a second, 1 for a third. They go in an anti-clockwise direction. The machines are 500cc, they have a fixed gearing, they have no brakes, they are capable of acceleration from 0 to 60 in just 3 seconds, and that's what these boys do. Looking at the lineup, heat number 6, Erik Stenlund on the inside in red for Sweden. Next to him in white, it is Antonin Kasper, classy member of the Czechoslovakian quartet. There we have Tommy Dunker from West Germany, and on the outside, Troy Butler, who is a fast starter from Australia. The Australians have a tradition of jet-propelled getaways, and Butler is reckoned to be a real speed merchant out of the traps. Here we go for heat 6. And away this time it is Kasper who shows, and we'll look for Butler in the blue helmet around the outside. He might just have the advantageous line. He has. He really lines up into second place. Kasper leads it. Second place is Butler. Third place is Stenlund. At the back it's the German Dunker. The battle down the order with Troy Butler in second place here for Australia. The Czechs, it looks as though their experienced members, Kasper here and Roman Matuszek, are really capable of beating the field here, and their lesser experienced riders, Brechel and Stefan Tesser, may be struggling a bit. So it's going to be an interesting balance. The Swedes have power right through, the Australians are an emerging nation, and the West Germans, well, they blow hot and cold. They prefer the longer tracks and the grass speedway disciplines. And Dunker here, who is one of their emerging prospects, is making no impression at all in heat number 6. Kasper by a mile, and Kasper is riding with consummate ease here. Over the line on one wheel. Second place is Australian Butler. Third place is Stenlund. And again, the Czechs are enjoying this moment. They do love to see their boys taking on some of the cream of World Speedway and beating them. Well, there's the lineup for heat number 7. Inside it's going to be Gerd Riss from West Germany. The Germans need points. They're trailing on the day. Next to him, Brechel from Czechoslovakia. Grid 3 will have Craig Boyce from Australia in blue, and on the outside, and the Swedes play their reserve. Tony Olsson comes into the action. There is the Czechoslovakian, and he's unpredictable. Won his early race there. There is Gerd Riss, who we saw in trouble earlier on, and clearly the old iron horse still needs attention. Coming into heat number 7, the Swedes and the Czechoslovakians are matching win for win here. The Germans need points, and the Australians, well, they're still very much in contention. It's interesting here as we approach the midway stages in Prague, Czechoslovakia of this World Team Cup qualifier. The final qualifier, remember, everything to go for. And there is Olsson on the outside. Look at those very fashionable gloves in a very fetching shade of mauve, but on this surface I fancy they may not stay quite so immaculate for too long. Heat 7, under orders. Inside wrist, next to him Brehel. Grid 3 has Boyce. Outside Olsen for Sweden. Heat number 7. And Olsen's made a fly right across the field, but Riss has just got the line up to the first corner. Brehel, the Czech, gets a knock there. He's out of contention. Olsen has ridden a beautiful tactical turn on first and second corners. He's in front. Second place is Riss. Third place is Boyce. We have lost the Czechoslovakian, who just seemed to overcook the first corner, and there is disillusion in the Czechoslovakian crowd. And again, that patch, and Riss did awfully well to hang on there. We saw the patch before. He's picked it up again. He clipped the fence, but he kept control. That man must have wrists of steel wire. There is Olsen, unaware that Gerd Riss from Germany was doing some rodeo stuff behind him. Craig Boyce will not be happy in third place. He really should have taken advantage of that slip from Riss, but that's a naughty little patch there, and I'll have to watch that. Brehel has got going back in fourth place, still running round, but a long way out of touch. Olsen looking good, a long way in front here in Heat 7. The Swedes really getting their teeth into it now. Second was Riss, third was Boyce. There is Olsen, and he rode a tremendous first and second corner. He got his line right, he got his wheels back in line to get the drive, and really headed for home in Heat 7. Impressive winner. Coming into the halfway stage here, Heat number 8, and or approaching the halfway stages, and it's still terribly tight, just 2 points separating three nations. There is the lineup for Heat number 8. On the inside it's going to be Tessa, next to him Karl Meyer, West Germany. Grid 3 will have Per Jonsson. On the outside, the wide outside, Mickey Poole from Australia. Taking their time to settle. The earlier races, it seemed that the inside grids were far and away the most productive. Now the outside grids seem to have got a bit of dirt as the riders have been riding that line, and they've been zooming out of the outside, and this time it is Mick Poole on the outside. There's a curious helmet. It's supposed to be yellow and black. It could only be described as leopard skin from Karl Meyer. There is Tessa in white for Czechoslovakia. The Czechs looking for points here. They've perhaps ridden better than international expectations. There the lineup. Inside Tessa, white in pole. Next to him Karl Meyer, yellow. Grid 3 has Per Jonsson on the outside. Mick Poole. Let's watch this outside. It has been just a bit lively. And away they go again. And Mick Poole from the outside sweeps across from grid 4. Super piece of action. Second place is Meyer. Third place coming hard. It is Per Jonsson from Sweden. But Mick Poole got just the drop at the first turn, and he is setting sail. Second place is Meyer. Jonsson, I might be satisfied with third place. There is Mick Poole. Beautiful action shot. At the back, the Czechoslovakian finding the company hot. In line of beam, and you really have got to grab big handfuls of throttle or find an alternative line here on this greasy slicker. They're all tightening up. It's greasy, it's slick, but it is difficult to get from the back, and you've got to pick your moment. And Jonsson, although he is a very experienced campaigner in third place, working hard to find a hole past Meyer, and Meyer seems to have eyes in the back of his crash helmet. Mick Poole in front. And when you get in front, you can really go quickly. You make your own line, and it's difficult to catch that leader. Jonsson here again trying the outside. Poole will hang on, so will Meyer to second place. Third is the Swede Jonsson. There's Mick Poole. And the Aussies will be really celebrating there, because Mick Poole made the jump and never looked like being caught. We're coming into heat number 9. And we'll just have a quick look at the cumulative scores. Remember, they have done 2 rounds before this, and it's terribly tight. The Swedes just one up on the West Germans, and the Czechs by no means out of contention, with Australia respectively in 4th place on 29 points. So everything still to go for here in Czechoslovakia. Looking across the line for heat number 9, and we do seem to have 3 starters only. The West German is missing. It's Gerd Riss, who has had mechanical problems all through this event. Looking across the line, it's Mick Poole, race winner last time out. This time he's on the inside. He was on the outside, you recall. Last time he made a super start. And next to him it is Jimmy Nilsson who'll be looking to get his act together. And then we have Antonin Kasper, Tony Kasper. The hold-up is the German, and it is Gerd Riss, and he already has a time warning of 2 minutes, the traditional international speedway limit. And it looks like he is not going to beat the button. And there is Mick Poole in blue. He will be encouraged by a race win individually. There is Jimmy Nilsson, who struggled, and there is Tony Kasper, and we saw him winning and looking good for the Czechs earlier on as well. And there is Riss, but by our reckoning time has run out, and he's exceeded the 2 minute warning. So the Germans, that's a critical move. The Germans were right in touch, and they've lost a rider here, going to get nothing from heat number 9 as they come under orders, and this time it's Nilsson from grid 2 who hits the first corner. Jimmy Nilsson leads at second place. There is Poole coming hard around the outside. Tony Kasper, fine line, seemed to have an extra gear there, moved into overdrive, now setting off after Nilsson, and Jimmy Nilsson in front for Sweden as Tony Kasper right on his exhaust pipe. Well, Kasper has seemed to have had a little bit of extra drive and a bit of extra power in his earlier rides. He'll need it now because Nilsson from Sweden, from Norrköping, and in fact his family are Norwegian. His father left Norway during the war to escape the Nazi occupation. They settled in Sweden, and he now rides internationally for the Swedes and is reckoned to be one of their top young prospects for future world honours. In his early 20s, and going away this time from Tony Kasper. Kasper is making no ground. In fact, he's being dropped as Nilsson, after 2 disappointing early rides when he was squeezed out, is beginning to weigh up this 400-metre Prague circuit. Way back in third place, it is Mick Poole, and the Swedes are now beginning to size up the circumstances here. Remember, they led over all from the earlier 2 rounds, and they had a bit of a shaky start here in Czechoslovakia. But they're getting to grip with things now, and Nilsson is finding his true touch. There is the caption for heat number 10, although looking down the line there into the blue helmet, it certainly doesn't look like Craig Boyce from Australia. The team manager, Vic Butler, has played his reserve. Todd Wiltshire is in blue. I think our colleagues in Czechoslovakia might just not have caught up with proceedings. That is definitely Todd Wiltshire in blue there for Australia. So looking across the line, Stenlund will ride in red, Wiltshire there in blue, in yellow and black on the inside, Carl Mayer, or yellow and spots, and it's Roman Matešek who really gets his shoulders into the action at the first turn. There is Matešek. He's a rough and ready merchant, this guy, a great crowd pleaser. One on the outside, Eric Stenlund from Sweden. Heat number 10, coming into line. The start master just settling them, doing a bit of gardening there to scuff a bit of dirt, maybe just get that extra jot or 2 of horsepower away from the starts. Of course, you can see the starts are important, vitally important, over a minute or so of full throttle action. If you get away, it is a big help. But you can say that about any motorsport. At least in Speedway, they all start level. It's not the fastest guys in front. Heat number 10. Mayer, Wiltshire, Matešek, outside Stenlund, heat 10. And this time as Matešek comes across, Mayer has hit the lead. Matešek is quite ruthless. It's Mayer in front, second place. It is Stenlund. Matešek got squeezed out, and Wiltshire got the rough end of the pineapple around the first 2 corners, and Carl Mayer leads it, and here comes Roman Matešek now trying to find some extra drive. Second place, it is Stenlund for Sweden, and Matešek will know that he cannot stay back here in third place if the Czechs are to maintain contact with a possible qualification place for the final. He's got to get up here in heat 10, but it's Mayer in front, and Mayer goes very quickly when he's in the lead. Second place is Stenlund. Matešek busting a gut, but not making much ground. There is Mayer, and Mayer, the long track specialist from West Germany. When he gets in front, he really gets that throttle open, and he goes for gold. Time to look back, he's a long way clear. Second place Stenlund. Matešek will be frustrated about this. An interesting character, Roman Matešek. Third place rider there in white. He fell foul of the Czechoslovakian authorities. They banned him for 6 months and ordered him to work as a dustman. And you can see the frustration there as he comes over the line. He knows he hasn't done enough. There is Mayer, wins it for Germany. And that's put the Germans well into the picture. Second place was Sweden in Erik Stenlund. And third place it was Roman Matuszek, one-time dustman, but now very frustrated speedway rider. So accumulatively now, it's a 6-point advantage for the Swedes from Germany, with the Czechs now desperate for points back in third place. I'm going to take a break now, and the action really falls. So welcome back to Prague in Czechoslovakia for speedway action, thick, fast and fun and games. Here we go for heat number 11. The four nations will remind you: Sweden, West Germany, Czechoslovakia and Australia, bidding for just one qualification place. They're going to have to win to go forward to the World Team Cup final. There is the lineup for heat number 11. Inside it's going to be Troy Buckler from Australia, wearing the blue helmet. Next to him it is Stefan Tessar from Czechoslovakia. Grid 3, Michael Blixt from Sweden, and on the outside Klaus Lausch from West Germany. Heat number 11, desperate for the Germans to pick up points here, and also the Czechoslovakians can afford to do no wrong, and away they go and into the first turn. And from the outside it is Lausch who has just got the drop. Lausch around the outside, tightening up, and Buckler and Tessar there, or was it Blixt? It was Blixt who came across, and Buckler picked up that drive on the track just coming out of the second corner, and the lad did terribly well not to have a really nasty one, because he maintained control somehow. There is the order with Lausch in front. Second place it is Blixt, having recovered his composure. Troy Buckler did well there, he's in third place. And the Czechoslovakians at the back, and they're not happy at all about that. That's a disaster for them. Look at that for a picture. Absolutely perfect speedway action. Remember, they're going sideways at 60 mile an hour on machines, without brakes and with a fixed gearing. And there's a real tight piece of action here as Buckler really powers his way past Blixt into second place for Australia. Brave ride from the young Roo here, and he's moving right up on Klaus Lausch's back wheel. These two in fact rode in Britain together with the Oxford side a couple of years ago. No love lost out there at the moment. As they go over the line, Lausch wins it. The Germans very much back in touch now, in contention. Second place was Buckler after all kinds of heroics. In third place, the Swede Michael Blixt. And there is the winner, Klaus Lausch, and that brings the West Germans right back into this qualifier. And so the lineup for heat number 12, on the inside it is Alois Backhuber from West Germany. There he is in the yellow helmet. He's been a spectacular competitor in this qualifier. Next to him in blue it is Stephen Davis, Australia. Grid number 3, as we move over, is the Czechoslovakian Brechel, who has been, well, competitive and interesting, and on the outside it is Per Jonsson from Sweden. Now Jonsson is far and away the most experienced international and seasoned campaigner in this lineup. Heat number 12. And it is an even break, and we look across and it is in fact Backhuber who's got away, and here comes Jonsson around the outside of him, and they're all tightening up here, and this is real speedway. Backhuber in front, Jonsson is second. In third place it is Stephen Davis, and Jonsson now trying the outside run. We haven't seen an awful lot of passing around the outside, and that is absolutely wheel-to-wheel speedway. Just look at that, they are shoulder to shoulder, and Jonsson it is who gets away. Second place now Backhuber. Tremendous action. Flying around the outside comes Brechel, and he's circumnavigated Davis, and this is a bit more like it. And here comes Brechel now around the outside with everything screwed on, and he has passed Backhuber as well. And so we have, what, 1, 2, 3, 4 pieces of passing here. We've only had 3 laps, but I think they're going to settle down now. Jonsson leads it. Second place is Brechel. Really took the throttle by the throat there. Third place is Backhuber, at the back it is Davis, who is just a bit overwhelmed by all the activity around him. Jonsson to anchor the Swedes here. Fine speedway race here in heat 12. Second place Brechel. Third it is Backhuber shaking his head. And we had some real action there, and that was really more what speedway is about. Overtaking, really thrustful, ducking, diving, weaving, and some brilliant overtaking tactics by two of the riders there, Jonsson and the Czechoslovakian Brechel. And indeed that takes the Swedes even further ahead. There is the progressive accumulative totals with Sweden on 59, the Germans still plugging away on 53, and the Czechs looking for inspiration on 48. The Australians a little bit green at this particular level, back on 32, but not disgraced. getting just a little bit murky here in Prague. It certainly isn't tropical weather. The conditions have been sticky and damp. And there's the lineup for heat number 13. Inside, Klaus Leisch from West Germany, and he can go a bit if he's in the mood. Next to him, Mickey Poole in blue for Australia. Grid 3 has Stenland, and on the outside, you have to keep an eye on Robho Brechel, because we've seen that he isn't frightened of getting out with the dirties and digging in and grabbing great handfuls of throttle and coming around the outside. Heat 13. Stenland there in red. There are the Australians with Mick Poole. We wonder what happens to their national body colours. There'll be some inquests down under about that, I'm sure. The Czechs represented by Brechel. Leisch on the inside for the Germans, and the Germans need points here, and they'll look to Leisch's ability to start quickly. This really perhaps is his trademark. He's on the inside here, he's on pole position. There he is, and he'll open that throttle and let the clutch go. A fine picture of concentration here at the start of heat 13, and Leisch, and all Poole's in trouble in grid 2, but Leisch gets away, moving down the inside of him. It is Stenland trying to get through as they disappear into the murk. That's a better picture now as we switch to another camera, and it is Leisch in front for West Germany. Second place it is Stenland, third place coming hard it is Brechel, but Klaus Leisch in front. There is Stenland in second place, and there is the order, and Brechel again finds that grip and almost collects the fence right at the back. Mick Poole not enjoying the best of hunting here. He really is an economical stylist, Leisch, when he's in front. As they begin to space out here in heat 13, the Germans will need these points. They're going to claw one of the deficit back. There is Leisch, looking neat, tidy, composed, cool, calm. He's going to collect 3 points for the German cause here, although right on his back wheel, Stenland is making sure he doesn't go to sleep. Still third place for Czech over the line. So the Germans gain 1 point back, and they are still in there, and they are still in there fighting. And that fighting victory has meant the Germans have plugged back the deficit enjoyed by the Swedes to now just 5 points, with the Czechs now beginning to lose contact. There's the lineup for race number 15, and the Swedes play their reserve, Tony Olsen. Again, he was very impressive first time out, won a race, so he is turning out to be a little bit of a match winner for them. Olsen, Stephen Davis will ride for Australia here in blue. Tony Kasper, there he is for Czechoslovakia. And the Czechs, who looked as though they might have a big say in this, and now just drifting away from the top two. And there is Mayer. And there we need points for West Germany. And there is Stephen Davis on the outside here. And it has seemed that the outside gates, if you just get that vital drop, you can be away and take some catching. Inside it is Tony Kasper. Olsen's in grid 2. Olsen's a quick starter. Then we have Mayer in grid 3, and on the outside it is Davis. Heat number 15. And away they go, and up to that first corner. It's going to be a tight one. Outside there is Kasper. Kasper in first place, and Olsen comes past the field on one wheel there, and Kasper out where the dirt is. Olsen going after him now in third place. It is Stephen Davis, and it is Mayer at the back, and that's heartbreak for Germany. They really have got to get up here as Tony Kasper moves out where the dirt is, and this will be spectacular and a very interesting battle of tactics, because you will see now that Kasper's moving right out where the dirt is and doing a bit of old-fashioned pioneering leg trailing, and Olsen is going past him, or trying to get past him on the inside, and it may well be that he can just find that extra bit of grip down the inside. A real race for the connoisseurs here, with Kasper out where the dirt is, and Olsen trying to sneak around the curve on the inside. And it's going to be a close call, this one, because his deliberate tactics with Casper looking to try and find that extra drive, and he has got Olsen right on his exhaust pipe, and Olsen is getting a good little ride around the inside here as they go over the line. It was a very close call. It looked like Olsen just got up as Casper moved out just fatally, and an interesting heat number 15. So there is Casper, and he's convinced he's got it. We wait for the judges, and they have concurred that Casper did just hold on there, so that's a little bit disappointing for the Swedes. They didn't get the 3 points they were looking for in that particular race. Casper is happy. And we're going to have a look at the action again around the first two corners, and keep an eye on the rider in red. That is Tony Olsen, who missed the jump, and with Casper in front, just keep your eye fixed on the rider on the inside. Suddenly he finds that drive, and he goes roaring past two rivals on one wheel, almost takes Stephen Davis up the terrace steps. He moves into second place. It is Casper in front. We then had a brilliant strategical battle with Casper moving out onto the outside, but Olsen moving on the inside. Casper just holding on. There is the score accumulative, with the Swedes still in front and the Germans in second place, and still far from. And welcome back to Prague for the final stages of this World Speedway Team Cup final qualifier. It really is quite an event, and we're coming into the final races, heat 16 coming your way, with the Swedes and West Germans battling for that one place in the big one, the World Cup final in England next month. And looking at the lineup for heat 16, we can see it's Per Jonsson. He'll be riding in red for the Swedes, and he'll be on the inside. There is Jonsson. Really is an interesting stylist. Just a little bit on the tall side for the conventional figure and image of a speedway rider. Looking across the line in yellow and black, Gerd Riss from the Germans. The Germans have got to raise one gallop here. Been slipping behind. There we have Troy Butler for Australia in blue. And on the outside, the redoubtable Roman Matashek for the Czechs, and he really is their secret weapon. He really can get into the thick of the action, and he puts himself around in the tradition of Czechoslovakian speedway. Heat number 16, Jonsson on the inside, next to him Riss, Germany. Grid 3 has Butler, on the outside is Matashek. Heat 16. Taking a while to go, and up to the first corner. And it's Riss that gets away for Germany. This is good news for the Germans, as Butler gets swung wide at the back. In front it is Riss. Second place now it is Jonsson. Third place it is Matashek, who really is screwing the life out of that throttle as he tries to get around the outside. It almost lets Butler, and Butler has moved into third place here for the Australians. The Czechs won't like that, as Butler almost overcooks the corner. Matashek goes sailing through on the inside, but it is still Riss for West Germany in front. Sweden, Jonsson is second down the curve. Third place we have Matashek, and there's only about, what, 3 bike lengths between the first three here in heat 16. Neat and tight little rider, Gerd Riss, and riding as though on rails. Matashek has his front wheel over the inside edge. We saw that is permissible. You can have one wheel but not both wheels, otherwise you're excluded. And we're stretching out here in heat 16. The Germans are still hanging on to the tail of the more fancied Swedes, and Riss will narrow the gap on one wheel over the line. And again Matashek unhappy with third place. And there is the scoreboard now, with the Swedes 8 points clear, and the Germans really looking for something special in these final races. And heat number 17 coming your way, and we'll look at the lineup for this race, getting towards the climax of this qualifier. There is the lineup. Tony Olsen from Sweden is the rider in red. Next to him we have Craig Boyce from Australia, blue. Grid 3 will have Stefan Tesla, Czechoslovakia, in white, and the German reserve, that is Alois Bach-Huber, coming into yellow and black. He has been a handful. There is Olsen, and Olsen has been a match winner. He's won a couple of races for the Swedes here, and the Swedes are still top of the leaderboard and still looking well set for that final place, although if they do anything disastrous, the Germans will be in. Heat number 17. An even break. Who will show on the inside? It is Olsen. Olsen away, coming hard down the line. It is Tessar, and they're all switching and moving here, but it's certainly in front. Olsen second place is Tessa. Third in blue is Craig Boyce for Australia, and Boyce being swung wide, and that's led to Bachhuber, and Boyce swinging back down the inside there for the odd point in heat number 17. In front, Olsen, anchoring Sweden. Second place is Stefan Tessar. Third place is Boyce. Disappointingly for the Germans, Bachhuber is at the back, and that's doing their cause no good at all. Olsen commanding heat number 17. Tessar looking lively. Craig Boyce in third place, but perhaps most critically of all, it is Bachhuber at the back, and the Germans are beginning to see their hopes of qualification just disappear into the Czechoslovakian dusk. Olsen has been quite a reserve. He's come in, he's won 3 races now, has made an awful difference over the line. He wins it. Second place, Tessa. Third place is Boyce. The German is last. Disaster for the Rhinelanders. And you can see there's a big gap now for Sweden in front of the Germans, with Czechoslovakia third and Australia in fourth place. Heat number 18. There is the lineup. On the inside, Stephen Davis in blue for Australia. Next to him, Bravo Brachel from Czechoslovakia in white. Grid 3 has Karl Mayer from West Germany. On the outside, it is Jimmy Nilsson from Sweden. There is Davis from Newcastle, New South Wales. Next to him, Brachel, who has been an interesting competitor. There is Karl Mayer in that distinctive spotted helmet. On the outside, Jimmy Nilsson, who seems to be burning coal down there. He's almost disappearing. Total loss oil, of course. They use Castrol R, which has a mineral base, and it looks as though poor old Jimmy Nilsson is burning it quite substantially at this stage. Heat number 18 getting under orders now, taking their time to settle, and it is Stephen Davis who's holding up proceedings, and the start line marshal will say, come on, you've got to get into line, as we wait for the start of heat 18. The referee can exclude the riders for delaying the start, and Stephen Davis was just dicing a bit there. Heat number 18 now under orders. Away this time, and it's a very clean break, and it looks like the Czechoslovakian Brehel gets away. Brehel gets away. The crowd rise here as Nilsson tries to run down the outside of him. In third place, it is Davis. At the back, it is Mayer, and Jimmy Nilsson looks as though he is going to guide Sweden through to the finals, because Mayer is at the back. And again, this is disaster for the Germans. The Swedes were home and dry, and Nilsson is now rubbing it in here. He leads it. Second place is Brehel. Third is Stephen Davis, and the Czech is moving here, there, inside, outside, middle track, trying to find some extra line, but I don't think he has got the legs to catch the polished style and speed and ability and talent of Jimmy Nilsson up front. Third place is Australian Davis, almost collecting the fence there back in the blue helmet. Well, the Germans, who started off so well and looked like they might overhaul the Swedes for that place in the final, have faded disappointingly in this past 2 or 3 races. The Swedes have capitalised, and the Swedes are going on to the final as Nilsson wins heat number 18. And there are the scores, and as you can see, the Swedes are now beginning to disappear over the horizon. They're on 73, the Germans a bit disappointing back on 59, the Czechs on 58, right up their exhaust pipes. Coming into heat number 20, and the Swedes are home and in the final, and as long as the German here, Klaus Lausch, manages to get a point, then they will finish in second place with the lively Czechoslovakians, who have gone rather in fits and starts. They are 3 points behind, so it would need the Czech to win. The Czech is Kasper here, and he's on the outside. He'd need to win this one with the German last, and then they would be equal second. But the Swedes are in the final, and once again have given a consistent all-round display. Each member of their side, plus their reserve Tony Olsen, has been productive. Troy Butler in blue for Australia. In white, it is Tony Kasper. He's on the wide outside here. Heat number 20, final one in this last World Team Cup qualifier. Johnson is impatient, and away they go this time, and from the outside it is Kasper, and it is Johnson, who just has the drop. Johnson and Casper together. Casper might, and they're not happy with the start. A very, very debatable decision there. The start is recalled. There was some tape touching, but the Czech crowd are not too happy with that because their lad was away then, and it looked like the German Leish was at the back. Look at it again. Well, it looked like a clean break. It really is the sternest discipline to call that one back, because that didn't look a bad start at all. And so for the second time of asking, same 4 riders, and we remind you, Sweden home and dry. All the interest here is if the Czechoslovakian, and that is Casper on the outside, can win it, and Leish, the German, on the inside in yellow and black, if he's last, then they have a tie for second place. But that really is just for the record books. Heat 20. And another break this time, and it is Casper who gets the fire from the outside. Casper away, second place. It is Troy Butler, third place. It is Leish, and at the back it is Per Jonsson from Sweden. The Czechs are certainly going to race to the last checkered flag, you could say. Casper in front, second place Butler. Now Johnson beginning to move up to threaten Klaus Leish, and he might just have him here. It nudges him over. It's going to make a very interesting change on the scoreboard, because it is still Casper in front, second place Johnson, third place is Butler, and the German is at the back. And this might just be the finish the Czechs were looking for, although there's going to be no argument about the Swedes going forward. Now Johnson, and Johnson has moved up prodigiously here. He was at the back, he's now moved up into second place and going hard after Casper, and he might go from last to first. He moves inside Tony Casper here. Johnson has gone from last to first, and Leish has slipped into third place, so that's really right at the last whistle. We have drama with Johnson getting up, and that win means, by our reckoning, that the Germans hold on for second place. But it's Sweden's day here in Prague, and they'll be going to the World Cup final in England, and they're going there with their tails up. And there is the final table. As you can see, Sweden go forward, the Germans are second, Czechoslovakia third, and Australia fourth. That's it from Czechoslovakia. I hope you've enjoyed the Speedway. From all of us here in Prague, a very good night.